So today I'm going to walk through how to use the Plants of Concern mobile app to submit a monitoring report. So this is what the app looks like after a user signs into their Plants of Concern account on the mobile app. On the home page, the user sees all of their assignments. And today I'm going to be completing a fake monitoring report using subpop1 of Hypericum et Pressum at this site. So I'm going to go ahead and click on subpop1. And here I can see a little bit more information about the subpop, the site where it's located, and the landowner. On this page, I can see that the latest report submitted for this subpop was in 2021. So if I wanted to review that briefly to learn a little bit more about the subpop, that information is available here. I can also click on the directions button to determine where the subpop is located and start navigating to it. And there's some more specific text directions to navigate to the subpop as well. So now I'm going to start monitoring. The first page where we start collecting data is just basic information about the date of monitoring, whether or not the subpop was found, and about the soil conditions. So I'm going to click yes, I found the subpop, and today's soil conditions are moist and well drained. The next page shows the GPS coordinates for the subpop, and this information was drawn from the previous report that was submitted in 2021. So I can make sure that those points look correct, or I can edit the GPS with more up-to-date coordinates if I desire to. But these coordinates look fine to me, so I'm going to continue on. On the next page, we enter the distance covered by the subpopulation, and this information can be calculated automatically using the GPS coordinates that are entered. So I'm going to click Use Calculated Values, and there the east-west distance in meters and the north-south distance in meters are entered automatically. This page collects information about what I'm going to be counting for the monitoring report. So for this Hypericum species, I'm going to be counting stems. This species is currently in flower, and I'm going to be doing a range estimate because I think this is a pretty large subpop. On this next page, I am going to enter the plant count range that I'm estimating and the percent reproductive of the species that I'm looking at. So in this instance, I'm estimating that there are between 401 and 800 plants, and I think they're probably about 75% reproductive. On the next page, we start entering our associate native species that are growing near this subpop or with the species that we're monitoring. I'm not going to enter any tree species, but if I were to do so, I could click on this drop-down menu or search for the species that I want to enter. And with the Plants of Concern database, we're able to enter growth form based on the USDA plants database. So only tree species will show up in this list for entering native tree associates. So it's not possible to enter a vine or an herbaceous species as a tree associate. Next, I'm going to enter the dominant native shrubs and or vine associate species that are growing with the Hypericum. So these three species were populated from the most recent report that was submitted for this subpop in 2021. And I think this list looks good, so I'm going to continue on to entering native herbaceous associates. So here are the dominant native herbaceous associates. In the Plants of Concern app, you can only enter up to 8 dominant native herbaceous plants. I think this looks good. But compared to 2021, I think I'm maybe seeing a little bit more little bluestem this year than big bluestem. So I'm going to try removing big bluestem, and that will allow me to add little bluestem as an associate. Confirm. Okay, so that associate list looks good. Now we're going to move on and enter information about invasive woody encroachment. So I'm not seeing any, or I am seeing a small amount of invasive woody brush under a meter tall, but I'm not seeing any invasive woody brush over a meter tall. And the other question on this page asks if there are invasive species outside the subpopulation not found within. So I'm going to put no. This is a pretty nice habitat, but I do think there's a little bit of honeysuckle starting to invade. That was the woody invasive shrub that I saw that was under a meter tall. So I'm going to enter honeysuckle as an invasive species at a prevalence of 1 to 20%. Okay, that looks good. This page looks at other degrees of impact for other damage that might be impacting the subpopulation. So I am seeing some deer browse, but I don't see any erosion, authorized trails, or unauthorized trails. I can also add other impacts if I want to. I'm not seeing any of these impacts, so I'm not going to be entering any of these. I don't believe there has been. Now, this page asks about management such as woody invasive removal, herbaceous invasive removal, or burning. I don't see any signs of woody invasive removal. I don't see any signs of an herbaceous invasive removal. But I do see signs of burning because there's no leaf litter and duff in the savanna. On this page, I can enter directions and notes about the subpop. So in this instance, I'm just going to copy directions from the report that was submitted in 2021. And I can make a note saying, for example, honeysuckle seems to be starting to invade this year. Next, I'm going to enter myself as a monitor on this report. And let's say I spent 1 hour collecting this data as the primary monitor. If I wanted to add additional monitors, I could add monitors that are entered into the plants of concern database already and search for their name. Otherwise, there's a note box for entering individuals that may have helped assist with monitoring who are not currently in the plants of concern database. On this page, I could add photos of the species from the field that I'm monitoring or other files. I'm not in the field right now, so I'm not going to be taking any photos. And then this is an overview of the different sections that I just entered the data for. So this is confirming that I've entered all the information needed and that the report looks good to submit. So I'm going to submit the report. And there we go. I successfully submitted the report. I I can now close that report, and it takes me back to the home page for the subpop. And it shows that I submitted the report and that it's now in review in the Plants of Concern database. So there we go.